Welcome one and all to the finals. The final countdown is just about over, and we're going to have a great old session here this afternoon. Just a reminder to please silence your cell phones, and in fact, I'm going to do mine because I always forget. And look, just a quick reminder, I know it's been a long week, but you know, one of the really cool things about PASS is not just the summit. The summit is fantastic. It's the pinnacle, it's the Mount Everest of conferences for us. But there's a whole heap of free stuff you can do to engage with PASS community, to learn, share, and connect. But for anyone here who's come along to Speaker Idol, who's thinking, you know what, I would like to speak. Well, there's a whole heap of local user groups out there. There's a whole lot of SQL Saturday, events out there. So look it up, contact the people. The really cool thing is everyone that runs those groups are really friendly and supportive. And if they're not, I'm Hamish Watson, please let me know. I'll talk to them. Look, for those of you that don't know that there is an election going on, so please vote. Make your choice known. This is your say on how the community can be led, guided. You know, for people who want to lead, lead the community, but also serve the community. There's some fantastic candidates. Are all of them here? Actually, how would that be answered? Oh, look. If you are a candidate in the election, please stand up and just say g'day, just a wave. Okay. And of course, there's Chris, Johan, and Mindy who aren't here. So yeah, please vote. Voting finishes. I have to do time zone maths. I think it's Tuesday next week, but I don't know. Alrighty. The Speaker Idol format, for those of you that might not have been here before. Oh, and by the way, if you're wondering, has Denny let himself go? I'm Hamish Watson. We are lucky enough to have Denny here. I had to get it booked in his calendar because he's like, it ain't in my calendar, I'm not there. So, thank you, mate.
That may be the best imitation of Denny Cherry. Hold on, not only that I've heard today, that I've ever.
Thank you so much.
I mean, he sounds nothing like that.
What was I thinking?
It's the best imitation.
Cheers, mate.
I'm saying nothing of the kind.
All righty. So yeah, as we know, each presenter gets 5 minutes. The judges will present. Do we present them with feedback? Yeah, cool. Okay. And then the judges will leave and pick a winner, just as we've done before, but as you can see, it's a little bit shorter format today. Alrighty. As any speaker should, I let Denny steal the images so the lawyers can go after him. And again, you know, the prize, the reason people are doing this is for a speaker session at 2020 Summit in Houston. I mean, woohoo! Isn't that great? And of course, then they get 12 months of panicking, like, oh, I've got to practice this session, I've got to get it right. That's normal, trust me. And of course, bragging rights. You know, they can have the little symbol that says, I'm speaking at 2020 Summits. That's pretty cool. All right. We have a wonderful group of judges. Now, you will notice that there are 5 judges instead of 4, because I didn't want it to be a tie, because I don't know if you know, my country doesn't like ties. Okay, for the 99% of the other people in the room who didn't get that joke, it's because of the Cricket World Cup. Yeah. New Zealand... Pinal, one of my very good friends, he says to me, you win... You guys didn't lose. You guys didn't Yeah. New Zealand didn't lose the game. Well, we lost the World Cup, but anyway. Now, I didn't want to tie in the final, and so I'm going to hand it over to the judges to do a real quick introduction of you all.
All right.
With the awesome
handing it over to
Kendra.
us. Hey, y'all. I'm Kendra. It's great to be here. It's great to be here. And it's been really fun being on this panel of judges, but I just want to say a few words for some of our past judges. I really miss Joey D'Antoni this year. We don't have Alan Hurt here to tell us how to spell things. So, I mean, like, that's just what's going on. Karen Lopez not here to help us understand how to make our slides. I mean, we do our best to make the slides official. But anyway, it's been a great crew through the years. And yeah, thanks, Denny, for carrying on the torch. And now for Hamish for subbing in. It's been fantastic.
Oops. Hi, I'm Kathi Kellenberger. And I've also had a fantastic time doing this week. I just want to say that every single person who's gotten up on that stage this week is a winner. This is the toughest session they're ever going to give in their entire life. It is so hard to, be on time and have a message in 5 minutes. So one person will be the person who gets to be the speaker idol and come back and speak at Past Summit. But some of those other people will also, because they'll just submit through the regular session, and what they've learned this week will help them. So thanks to everybody.
So hi, everybody. Welcome to Speaker Idol 2019 Finals. We're really glad that, A, you're not already on a plane going home, like a lot of people are. And we're glad that you decided to spend your last hour-ish with us. Wait, really? Okay. Go to that session. It's fine. Anyway, we're really, really glad you're here, and I'm really glad to be participating in this. This has been fun.
I am so glad that all of these contestants have decided to step up and try to do this. Those of us who have been speaking for a few years all know how difficult this is. It's probably one of the most difficult sessions to give, especially when they see this room is absolutely packed. But I know that as an amazing community, we're all very supportive, and we're going to help them out now and after with all of these sessions. So kudos to those who have come before and those that are presenting today. Good luck.
So, thank you very much. Thank you for all of you being here to join us for this final. Thank you for all the contestants. Thank you to the 4 experts that were sitting with me on this panel. This has been so much fun. Hamish.
G'day.
You've improved. Again, slightly tech skills getting from the intro slide to the first slide. Probably a little nervous. I mean, this is a bigger group than yours too, so that's fine. Yeah. Then again, it's all about preparation. The fact that you're struggling with the US states and that New England is not, I'm not going to get into that again. The fact that you're struggling with UTC, the U stands for Universal. I mean, then you're starting time zone conversion, but thank you very much. It was an honor to be on this panel. And now let's kick this off. Thank you.
Thank you. Alrighty. So in order to choose who was going to speak first, I randomized it in Excel. I probably should have used SQL Server. Well, anyway. I should have used Access, actually. So yeah. So yeah, our first speaker up is Deborah. So if you can come up, please, mate, and I'll introduce you to the crowd. Actually, just a quick show of hands. Who is here at Speaker Idol session for the first time, right? So you haven't come to the other 3? Oh, wow. Thank you so much. You make all this nervousness worth it. There it is. Yeah, mate. Cool. Alrighty. Deborah has been working as a database professional with SQL Server for almost 20 years. I know, right? She spends her days helping programmers with all aspects of database design, queries, performance, and deployment. And in 2016, she began her blog, Deb, the DBA. Soon after that, she began speaking at SQL Saturdays and user groups, and Deborah is a board member of 6 states known as New England. And I would not have been able to do that without your tutelage, Ben. Thank you so much. I had to write the number on the floor here. Because, as you know, as a New Zealander, that particular number gets us in trouble with the Australians. Because they don't understand it. Right, so of the New England SQL Server user group, NESQL, and was recently named as an IDEA Ace Class of 2020. Congratulations on that. And in her spare time, Deborah can usually be found doing something musical. It's all yours.
Good afternoon. Yeah. Take this update statement. Imagine, if you will, that we have just executed it and our transaction has begun. A lot's going to occur inside this transaction, this update. When we think about modifying tables, we tend to think of it as modifying one table at a time. But in fact, we could actually modify multiple tables at the same time, and we may or may not even be aware it's happening. Sometimes we do this through our database design, and sometimes we do this explicitly. So let's take a quick look. Let's start with cascading foreign keys. When we create foreign key constraints, we can define the actions that occur when the reference column is updated. We can set the foreign key column value to null, we can set it to a default, or we can cascade the action, set it to the same as the referenced column. So if we were to look at this execution plan, we can see where our table is being updated, and we can also see where the referencing foreign key column is being updated based on the action defined in our foreign key constraint. Another example would be temporal tables or system versioning. So here, when we look at the execution plan, we see that we update our table, and the data as it existed before the change gets inserted directly into our history table, all part of that same update. We can also do this explicitly through the output into clause. When we first learn to write our update statements, we say you can only update one table at a time. This is how we know that's so not the case. Right now, our data exists in 2 forms: the way it was before the change in the internal deleted table, and the way it will exist after the change is committed in the internal inserted table. And we can access both of those data directly through our update statement and through our output into clause. Here, we can take that data and insert it directly into yet another table, all part of that one statement. Then, of course, there's our friend the trigger. Scratch that, our frenemy the trigger. That's the special stored procedure that's attached to a table that fires whenever we make an update. It can be as simple or as complex as we want. So our data gets updated, and then all of the statements in our trigger get fired. Now here's the thing. This is all done under the context of that update statement, or rather, that update statement's transaction. So if any part of that statement fails, our entire update fails. We also have the instead of trigger, where instead of actually doing that update, we're just doing the actions inside the trigger. And if you weren't aware that was going on, you may be in for a bit of a surprise when you look at your data later. Now, at this point, some of you are probably going, hey, Deborah, why are you telling us this? Some of you may even be saying, this is so beginner, it's easy, it's simple. What's the point? Well, I would argue that is the point, because I think we often take the simplicity of our update statements for granted, because there's so much that goes on behind the scenes. When we modify data, SQL Server has to do a lot of work against tables. It may need to update indexes. It potentially has to update statistics. There's constraint validation, row versioning, among a host of other different actions. And this has to be done for every single table that's being updated. And who here still thinks we're talking about one record? We deal with sets, so we may have 10, 100, 1,000, 1 million records. That's a lot of work that we're asking SQL Server to do in a very short amount of time. And then what happens after that transaction finishes? SQL Server has a lot of different functionality that may need to read from the transaction logs, find the data changes, and apply them somewhere else. Functionalities such as change data capture, replication, availability groups. So it's no longer about updating that one little table and how it's related to others through foreign keys, but it's about how data moves throughout your entire database, or rather, how that data moves throughout your entire database ecosystem. How we design our database really gets to the heart of how we modify our data. And we want to think about not just what we have now, but what else may consume that data, how our data may grow, and how much data we have to deal with. If we design our databases properly, we don't have to think about all of that. We get to focus on that simple little update statement, like the one that started when I began talking. Think of all the different things we've touched upon in that time. As I said, a lot's going to occur inside this update. Our statement has finished, our transaction is committed, and I want to say thank you so much for coming out. Hope you've had a great past summit.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You've even improved over earlier, and you were very strong earlier, so...
Well, thank you.
You're really not going to make this easy for us.
No.
So, no, that's not what we do. But
thanks.
It's interesting that you suggest that, because she still had the Red Sox in there. I mean, that's kind of the only thing was like, oh, she did not change that. That might be an issue.
That won't change.
I don't know anything about sports. Go Cowboys! No, I mean, there were very little points of critiques earlier. You fixed those screenshots with the Plan Explorer, so that was perfect. You mentioned that it's coming from another product, therefore also fixing the copyright issue that wasn't there before because different reasons. So yeah, perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excellent presentation, well done. I didn't see your first one, I apologize for that. But it was an excellent presentation. Mostly I wanted to compliment you on things like the story and your slides. I really liked the fit and finish of your overall presentation. I really appreciated that. It was very well polished, as they say. I loved your semicolons. I'm not usually a stickler for that kind of thing, but the fact that you did that and I noticed, I quite appreciate that, having just recently written a book where I got called on that a lot myself. So that was excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah, good job.
So again, I saw you earlier today. Fantastic performance again this afternoon. So this is something I didn't critique you on this morning, so I won't hold it against you today. That you should maybe move out from behind the podium a little bit.
Okay.
You're not very tall.
No, I know.
And so at first, I was thinking, I was like, wow, well, maybe she doesn't know she's not tall.
No,
So
I know. I wore heels, but it only helped.
For just a moment, I thought, oh, it'd be great if she were like moving her hands more, and then you were. So, but it's also where I'm sitting, so that made me wonder if people right here had kind of the same experience that I did. I'm not going to hold it. We didn't critique you for it earlier. Fantastic eye contact with the crowd from left to right, pulling everybody in. You did a really good job. There was one verbal bobble early. You paused for half a second, collected yourself, and moved on. And if people hadn't seen the earlier session, I don't think they would have caught it. So fantastic job there.
Oh, thank you.
So you make it really difficult to come up with constructive criticism. You know, it was just great. I love watching, I love listening to your voice. I noticed the same thing behind, but I think because I'm in a different spot, I didn't have problems seeing you earlier today, but like this afternoon I did. Mm-hmm. So, you know, what Rie said about that. But it's just a really enjoyable session, fantastic. You're making my job really hard here.
All right. I think I don't really have a lot that people haven't said. They took my criticisms. I think, yeah, moving around a little bit, it's hard, especially when you have the edge of the stage right there, but it is good. But great job. Thanks so much for joining us.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, Deborah.
Alrighty. Up. No pressure? No pressure. Up next, we have William. William is a past regional mentor and longtime SQL Saturday and user group organizer in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I remembered. He's a manager and principal consultant for SQL Server during the day. He's been an author for the books Microsoft SQL Server Inside Out. I was actually worried they were talking to me. He's a manager and principal consultant for SQL Server during the day. He has been an author for the books Microsoft SQL Server Inside Out 2017 and 2019, and is active in local STEM education initiatives. William is joined here in Seattle by his brilliant wife, Christine, who is far more interesting, as she was accepted to speak at Past Summit, whilst William was not.
Hashtag arm candy. Arm candy. Trophy husband.
I'm Candy. I've never heard that. Hi, I'm from New Zealand. We speak slow and don't know what arm candy is. I would literally have sellotaped like Pixie Caramels and Allen P chocolates and just been, I'm in my arm candy. Okay.
It's very good. That's good.
Cheers. All right. Well, we did that bit.
Yeah.
All right, mate. It's all yours.
Welcome to Spooky Sequel. Today we have spooky sequel stories on how to avoid frightening non-sequential, newsequential GUIDs, shocking foreign key behavior, and duplicate primary key terror. Features of night brought to light. Our first fright, behold the fright of the newsequential ID. To set the stage, we have a unique identifier field that is the primary key clustered index of our table and a default constraint of the newsequential ID function, as opposed to the random behavior. We ran some inserts, caused some things to happen, and then, look! The ID column, the GUIDs are in order, but the insertion date is out of order. We're writing to the beginning of the table. How has this happened? See, this is the expected behavior of the newsequential ID function. Just like an identity or a sequence, constant ascending inserts. What really happens is that the seed of the newsequential ID can change. We're writing data all over the place, writing data out of order, and we have fragmentation upon insertion. The C++ function behind is based on the MAC address of the NIC, and so the newsequential ID seed can change on any change to the server NIC MAC. And there are way too many ways to talk about how this can happen, but for example, changing the tier of an Azure SQL database, or on the startup of a VM. There are scenarios in both VMware and Hyper-V where this can happen to you. So as you can see, we cannot trust the newsequential ID function, and that is spooky. Fright number 2, behold, shocking foreign key behavior. We have a simple query on 2 tables, and the result is 2 clustered index scans. Now, we're going to add a foreign key on that common key between them, run the same query, and keep your eye on the clustered index scan. It's gone! On the parent table, adding the foreign key reduced the cost from 1.25 to 0.37 without changing code or indexes. Now, a spooky aside. SQL Saturday, Pensacola, 2012. I was doing a demo, not unlike this demo, in a lightning round, not unlike this lightning round, on a night, not unlike this night. And my demo didn't work. The second clustered index scan would not go away. Why? Later, I found the spook in my database. It turns out my foreign key had been created and was enabled, but had not been trusted, and did not evaluate existing data, and so could not be trusted for performance reasons. Ever seen a management studio script out a foreign key like this with no check? This means the foreign key is created, enabled, but not trusted. And instead of what normally follows, alter table, check constraint, what you actually need is alter table with check, check constraint. Seriously, with check, check. Now my foreign key is not trusted and can be used again for performance reasons. There we go. Fright number 3, behold, duplicate primary key horror. Many businesses have an invoice or a line item or a reference number system that looks like this: year, and then an invoice number, and then to the right of the decimal point, the line item. You see, the float or real data type is actually an approximation. It does not store the actual data types. And in SQL Server, Microsoft SQL Server, it actually rounds up those approximate data types. And so I have a lab that can show just how problematic this can be. See, I have a simple table with a float as the primary key clustered index. Cool. All right. That was spooky. Wow. Okay. So. Float as the primary key clustered index. I have inserted one invoice with 8 line items, as you see right here. And so I'm going to just show you what happens when I query this table. Look, and I have a group by on that, and I am showing duplicate primary key values for this table coming out of the float data type. To actually display the data correctly, I have to use a grown-up data type called decimal to get the data out there correctly, and that's what we should have. Now, let's say that I have to migrate this data to another system, a data warehouse or competitor software. I can create a table, maybe that has higher precision requirements. The data inserts fine, but oh no, look what has happened to our data. Thank you very much. Hopefully this isn't too spooky for you to enjoy the rest of Past Summit 2019.
That was spooky.
That was spooky.
Actually, so I had, seen the talk before, and your delivery is so good that I was actually like, oh, it's a little scary at points.
Right.
It's a little scary. I think, so the notes, we've given you some notes on simplifying your slides, and in simplifying, going to 3. There was more spookiness before if you weren't here. There was 5 spooky things. You really rocked that out. It is polished now, and I could follow much better. My little brain could keep up just fine now and appreciate your fantastic delivery. So fantastic job incorporating all those notes we gave you. Really impressive.
Thanks.
Yeah, I agree with everything Kendra said. The little glitch that happens, it happens. There's something, I don't know.
There was no glitch. It was just spooky.
Yeah, it was spooky. It was spooky. It happens to me every once in a while, too, when I present. It's something weird with PowerPoint where it just thinks you're done.
Yeah.
So I would not take off for that, and you recovered very nicely and just kept on going, and just really, really great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I did not see this earlier today, earlier this week. So this was a complete surprise to me. And at first I thought to myself, oh, is he going to use that voice the whole time? Yes, he is. So, but I very quickly, as we got into the presentation, I was like, oh, this really fits it. I really appreciate it. But at that very beginning, I was a little distracted by it. But it totally ended up making sense. Great fonts, great use of white space. I could read everything on every slide without even having to lean forward and strain my old eyes. So good job. I liked the graphic where you showed the fragmentation. That would explain it to most people in the room. And good use of humor and the sound of the check, check, and then the repeating other things. you did really, really well there. So thank you. Good presentation.
Thank you so much.
Excellent job. I do appreciate the added changes that you did. The slowing it down definitely made it a much easier presentation to follow. That was appreciated. I still appreciated that you still did the live demo, and your recovery was exceptional. So well done.
Why are you making this so hard for us?
Sorry.
I mean, why? No, I honestly got nothing to add. All other judges said before, you made those adjustments where we gave you this one slide, just way too much content that you weren't even covering. You fixed all that. So all the improvements we suggested, you got that in. Again, that recovery, that was perfect, because that couldn't have been dealt with better. You were still pretty much on time, you were like 15 seconds over, so that's nothing. Given that you had that glitch in between, so perfect job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well done, mate. All right, up next is Hilke Peak. I know. For those of you that were not at the session where Hilke spoke, I'm a New Zealander. We can't even speak English, let alone say other words. Hilke is Dutch. He works at VX Company as a managing consultant in data analytics. Hilke has been working in the data field for more than 10 years now, and it's a lot of Power BI and Azure services these days. And Hilke also gives training on these subjects. So over to you, mate.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to talk about dynamic data factory, especially about metadata-driven pipelines. But first of all, I would like to know who has worked with Azure Data Factory ADF before? Whoa, that's about 30 hands, I think. Well, that's good. I have a short introduction of Azure Data Factory, just one slide. And then I go through an example of how a metadata-driven pipeline can be built. So let's go. Azure Data Factory, well, it's a orchestration within Azure. It helps you move data around. You can trigger analysis, trigger models to perform analysis, and that kind of stuff. So it's more like a ETL tool, but then within Azure. Okay, so the example I have, I've got 3 files on a blob storage, and I got 3 tables where I have to insert the data into. And in order to do that, I need a pipeline. And, but at the same time, when I have more files with more tables, I still want to use one pipeline. How I'm going to do that? I'm going to use metadata. And I store that metadata in a SQL table. How does the metadata look like? It has 3 columns and 3 rows. I've got 3 files, so I've got 3 rows. And I've got 3 columns. The first one is ID, because we always have an ID column. Source folder, that's the column for the blob storage, where the files are stored on the blob storage. The third column is the des table, that's the destination table of the SQL database. Okay, so how does the pipeline within Azure Data Factory looks like? Well, it has 3 activities. You see 2 over here. First one is a lookup. It gets the metadata from my table you just saw in the previous slide. So it has 3 rows with 3 columns. But then I have to assign it to a for each loop. The for each loop loops through all the 3 records one by one, and I have to assign all the values of the previous activity to that for each loop. And I do that with the items property of the for each loop. And I assign it by getting the values, the output values of the previous activity. You can see underneath below in the sheet. And then when I've done that, I go to the third and last activity. Within the for each loop, we got a copy activity. And the copy activity has a source, which in my case is a blob storage, and has a sink, which is my SQL table, SQL database with the tables. I want to make this dynamic, okay? So to do that, I need a dynamic data set. So let's go to the data set. On the left, you see the data set, and on the right, you see my copy activity. The data set is for, this data set is for the source. In order to make that one dynamic, I need a parameter. I call that parameter folder, and I'm going to assign the folder to the file path property of my dataset. And then I can assign a value to that parameter. And the value is coming from the items.source folder. Item is referring to the item property of the for each, and the source folder is, of course, the column in my metadata. That's all I have to do for the source. For the destination, I do actually the same, but now it's a table within a Azure SQL database. I've got a parameter table. I assign it to my property table of the dataset, and then I'm going to assign a value to it. But in this case, it's the desk table column of my metadata store. That's all I have to do to make a dynamic pipeline. But in real life, we have to deal with more things. For example, incremental loading. Other stuff is like load order configuration. What about tables that are depending on each other, like dimensions and fact tables? But also custom logic. Notebooks, functions, store procedures. But that's out of this, not for today, that's for the next time. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That is probably given to the fact that there's a lot at stake here. You seemed a little more nervous than you did last time.
Okay.
You ended very fast. You almost had a minute left. So
Oh, really?
you could 48 seconds. So I take that as almost a minute. So you could have gone a little slower. Otherwise, from the presentation, I mean, I've pointed it out. I really like the fact that you actually went into explaining the basics. So people that are not aware of what ADF is and everything, you picked it up.
Yeah.
Same like in your first presentation. So I liked it a lot. And with that, to you, Melody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, excellent job. I also thought you might have been a bit more nervous than you were the first time. You seemed a little smoother the first time. It could have been some of the changes you made, but I appreciated you including some of those changes, such as the intro at the beginning.
Yeah.
I still like your very clean slides, the transitions that you did. That's still really well done. Good job.
Thank you.
Hi there. So I also appreciated the new intro that you added. Although knowing that we had asked you to add it, it did seem a little less polished as it would if you had just added it. But thank you very much for doing that. It probably helped a lot of people in the room who don't use Azure Data Factory. And I still liked the slides where you highlighted things at the bottom. You put it in red exactly where my eye needed to be drawn to.
Mm-hmm.
The copy data slide, there's still so much on that slide that's really, really small.
Yeah.
I got lost
Okay.
on the slide. But good job today.
Thank you.
So this is the first time I got to see you. So I don't know about the improvements. I liked the slides. I thought they were very clear and you didn't have a lot of extra stuff that was distracting. That was fantastic. Good body language. I did think you were fast. So you might try, and I know this is, you're probably nervous up there. This is a big deal. So, practice on maybe just kind of slowing down when you're speaking. And I'm probably talking fast right now as well. So I know how it goes. Thank you very much for doing this.
When I talk about talking fast, I always talk fast. It's weird. One of the things that we had mentioned about your first talk was you were turning a lot and looking at the screens. Mm-hmm. And that is a really hard thing to change because physical behaviors like that are kind of automatic. Yeah. And you totally fixed it. It was your microphone didn't fade out. It was wonderful. You completely resolved that. Great work. Because I know that one is especially hard. Thanks so much for speaking.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Our next contestant is Adrian Me. And Adrian has let me talk about him. So each of the presenters could send me their bio, and I'd put it into the slide. Adrian said, I know you, you know me, you can introduce me. Whereas in fact, I don't think Adrian knows me because he wouldn't have let me do this. So Adrian is originally from Australia, and it's a little known fact that his family farmed Tasmanian devils. back in the day. However, as anyone knows, when Adrian presented earlier this week in Speaker Final, the Skylab thingamajiggy fell out of the sky, crashed into Australia in 1979, space station, there we go. The space station came down and wiped out the farm that had the only Tasmanian devils in the world, which is why they're not alive anymore. Yeah. Adrian is a Director of Information Security at Falling Colours Technology. He's been involved, and he now lives in Santa Fe, New Mexico. New Mexico is a state. Little known fact, Adrian invented the giant Roadrunner statue at that place. I'm not even going to attempt that word. Las Cruces. And Adrian's been a DBA for 6 years. All yours, mate. Are you ready?
No. I can't. Oh. There we are.
What else? Oh, his mum emailed me, and she is so happy and proud that he is a certified Scrum Master. Are you Idea 2020 Ace?
I am.
Congratulations.
Oh, thanks, mate. Yeah. So good day, everyone. Today we're going to get personal. And no, this is not a therapy session. Today we're going to get personal with the query window. So last week, I downloaded the latest version of SQL Server Management Studio. This week, it's already out of date. But that's okay, because everything I'm going to show you here today can be ran and done on any version of SQL Server Management Studio. I'm going to show you how in just under 5 minutes and a few simple steps that you can take this bland window and turn it into a grand window. Now I'm going to show you around here real quick. Down the bottom is the status bar, and I love the status bar. It has so much good information in it. It has our server connections, so it tells us how many servers we're connected to. It tells us the server name we're connected to, including the version of SQL Server. It tells us the username that we're connected to, including the session ID, the database name we're connected to, and if we had run a query in this window, it would also give us the time and how many rows were returned. There's a ton of great information. At the top of the screen is the Query tab, and a lot of this information here is repeated from the status bar, and it's also got the file name in it. But it's also squished into that small little tab. On the right-hand side is a tab selector. So this allows us to quickly change to a different file that we already have open. This is my favorite tool here. This is the window splitter. So we can now split the window into two and see two different parts of the same query. And of course, we have horizontal and vertical scroll bars. So I'm going to drop here into Management Studio. I'm going to select Tools and Options, and that's going to bring up the Options dialog box. From there, I'm going to navigate down to the Editor tab and Status bar section. On the right-hand side is the status bar content. Now, I love everything that's here, so I just leave the defaults. Underneath that is the layout and the colors. So I move the status bar from the bottom of the screen, and I put it right at the top, because that way it's right in front of your eyes, and it's very easy to see. I also changed the group color, the group connection color. So a group connection is when you connect to more than one server at a time. So I changed that from pink to a nice Southwest color, because as you can tell from my accent, I'm from the Southwest. The tab text. The tab was that little tab at the top of the screen that had all that information jammed in there. I get rid of everything except for the file name. That's because the other things are included in the status bar, which is now right below the tab. Now we can instantly see here that we're connected to more than one server. How? Well, we have a turquoise status bar. It's also right at the top of the screen, except if you're using a 25-foot monitor. Right above that is the tab text, and you'll see all the file names in there, and it makes it very easy to see what you have open. If we look at the tab selector now, and we notice the line above it. And I do apologize, this is a little blurry, but I want you to see that line that's right above that down arrow. That means we have more files open than will fit on the screen. So if we go ahead and select that, we get a list of all the files we have open, and we select one, and we can directly jump to it. We have a question over here, yes? Okay. That's a great question. Now, let me repeat the question. I don't know if you heard it. The question was, how do I get to see the line numbers on the query window? And it's a perfect question because it's a great segue into my next slide. So a couple of options I do here. I don't like to scroll horizontally, so I turn on word wrap. And that's where I can turn on line numbers right there. So you see on the left-hand side here, line numbers are on the screen. But there's also gaps. That's where that line has wrapped to the next line of the page. We can also tell that because of this symbol on the right-hand side. Jumping back into the options dialog box, because we have word wrap on now, we don't need to see the horizontal scroll bar. And I'm going to change the vertical scroll bar from a bar to a map. Now, if you look at the bottom of the screen here, you see there's no horizontal scroll bar, so we get more real estate for our query. But on the right-hand side is a map. Now, this is pretty awesome. So if we put the mouse over the map, we get this huge preview of text right where the mouse is, and we can easily navigate to it. Lastly is the window splitter. So this allows us to split the window in two, get two maps, and see two different parts of the same query. So as you can see, in just under 5 minutes and a few simple steps, we've taken this bland window and we've turned it into this grand window. Thank you.
All right, Adrian. So the last time you did this, your time was 6 minutes. Do you know what your time was this time?
5 minutes, 4 seconds.
I had 5 minutes, 3 seconds.
Okay.
And
I started a second early.
You did it without sounding rushed at all. So and you still cover. I'm like, I think you still covered I feel like I saw everything. And that
I did,
fake,
yes.
that fake question shouldn't be funny again the second time I see it. But it was still funny.
Well, the person moved from this side of the room to the other side.
Yeah, that was, I totally fell for that. I mean, so this is nitpicking, but that's my job.
Okay.
In terms of your speaking cadence, the speed of it is great. There was one point in the middle where the pauses were just a little too regular, and then the pauses became noticeable.
Okay.
Changing up the length of the sentences or the length of the pauses a little. I mean, this is like super, like, can I give you a note to improve? This is what I came up with.
Okay. I appreciate it.
So I also didn't get to see you yesterday, so everything was new to me.
Okay.
I really, really loved that you did your demo in the slides because, some people have done live demos. I think that's really risky in a 5-minute thing, so I thought those were really great. At first, I was like, I wanted you to zoom in on the little sections you were talking about, and then later you did do that, so I would probably go ahead and zoom in on those other little sections where you're changing settings.
Okay.
But it was just really fantastic, and thank you so much for doing this.
Sure, thank you.
I agree with Kendra. The joke was funny the second time, and it shouldn't be. Congratulations on improving time. I agree. It didn't feel any more. You cut a minute off of your presentation, and it didn't feel any more rushed. And watching it the second time, the whole map section, I got that a little more, so I was able to catch a little more of it. So you certainly weren't rushing through it, and I don't really think I have anything that would improve it.
Thank you.
Excellent job incorporating the feedback, particularly the showing how you got to options. I thought that was quite good. Adding something in when you were already tight on time is not an easy thing to do, so kudos for that. And I also find that question still funny. I think it'll always be funny now, so I appreciated that. And when I had pointed out before about the one picture being blurry, but then you called it out, that
I
made
did
me
actually
smile,
improve it,
'cause
but that was as good as I
actually
could
did
get.
see a difference in it,
Yeah,
and
good.
I wouldn't call there's a problem with it. I understand that you can only do so much, but the fact that you apologized for that as a Canadian, I appreciated that.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, I didn't find that joke funny at all. I was just giggling again because that's what you do, I guess. No. I was thinking about just asking about like your favorite food and your favorite color to avoid having to make a decision now, because I honestly do not have that much to add. It was spot on time. All the other improvements perfect. Again, why are you guys making this so hard on us? I think it's time for us to leave. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Alrighty. So what I'm going to do, if I could get Denny, could I grab Ginger and Penal? If you could sit up here. What I thought we'd do, we're going to do Ask Us Anything. Sorry. So, I'm going to use the mic. Yeah. I promise not to drop it. Alrighty, so yeah, it's for them. So, who has a question to ask this great panel of? I don't know how anything works. So,
thankfully, you have a clip on.
What is the average flight speed of an unladen swallow?
Yes.
African or European?
This question is for Denny. Do you regret ceding the moderator role this year?
Not at all. It was wonderful to not have a damn thing to do during passes here. Hang out with people.
any other questions?
For Denny, actually. Hey. Where are you going to put karaoke in Houston?
I don't know which one yet. If the Houston person is still here, I have to go talk to them still. If not, I'm going to call some bars and find a place.
Righty, any more questions? Otherwise, I will talk. It's really up to you.
Please, God, don't make him talk. There's a question over there.
Cool.
Mike. We're going to bring the singer from Seattle. I don't know. You can find. Fine. Be that way. Make me use the technology correctly. So yeah, we will try and find a local singer, or we will bring the singer out from here because we have used the same singer for, I want to say 7 years, and she's really good. So yeah, we might bring her and the band out from Seattle. I don't know.
What does the panel think of LNP candies?
What we think is it's great that Hamish brings up, so you need to step up next year, just saying.
They don't make as good chocolate. Oh.
Thank you. I never got one.
I'd just like to state, yeah, I know, it's all good. I'm just going to state that we make better chocolate and lollies and rugby teams in New Zealand.
I'm a first timer here, so there's actually a karaoke here somewhere.
So the question was, if you didn't hear it, there's a karaoke party, and there's a question on that side, Hamish. So the answer to that is yes. Unfortunately, it was Tuesday night, and you and about 500 of your closest friends would have been there, and we would have had an awesome time, but you didn't show up. But we will have it next year. We've had it every year for 7 or 8 years now.
It was awesome.
It's awesome. What I remember of it is fantastic.
What was the question? Oh, yeah. G'day, mate.
My question is for Denny. Denny, what is the largest number of expletives that have been used during a past summit session, and do you still hold the record?
Yes, I hold the record. I'm assuming it's at least double digits. It shouldn't be triple digits, I don't think, because the sessions aren't very long. But I'm pretty sure it would have been my first year or two at Pass, and it would have been just in the 20s or 30s, maybe.
Another one? Oh, g'day. Yep.
So the question was, what's the biggest database size you worked with?
Oh, that's a technical question comes to me and fun one to you. All right. I thought I was the funny guy, but it's getting a reverse one, huh? All right. Oh, actually, that's a good one, actually. So the biggest database I've seen is 1 terabyte, but that's really not the big problem. I mean, terabytes a SQL Server can handle it. The funniest thing is that people think index rebuilding on that and creating other partitioning of it and like single table so big, and people come up with all this creative idea. I think that's the trouble. But otherwise, 1 terabyte, 1.5 terabyte, I think it's just fine.
Yeah, I'm not the big database person, so Denny.
So biggest databases our customers have right now, we've got one customer, I believe it's got a 40 terabyte data warehouse. And then we've got the system I'm working on right now is each database is about 10 or 11 terabytes, and there's a lot of AGs involved, so it's somewhere around 150 to 200 terabytes total. From what I understand, size does not matter, but my wife tells me otherwise.
Whoa. You always got to worry when I look at the floor and...
Self-deprecating humor is the best humor.
All righty, another question for the panel. Oh yeah, Adrian.
More technical questions so Pranal can talk.
This one is for Pranal. In your opinion, who is the best cricket team in the world?
Didn't we discuss this yesterday?
The night before, but yeah, so I'm just...
All right, so which is the best cricket team in the world? Who finishes the last, because they get opportunity to next time contest or may not contest. Otherwise, I think if you're asking me the name of the country, I may be a little biased, but India. But I think this question is more for, I think we should ask this to folks, and they will tell us which is the best cricket team there is. Let's see beside India what they come up with.
Didn't they invent it in the UK? So England?
Look at the opposite.
I don't watch sports, so cricket's the one with the mitt, right?
There's some sort of bat.
So people say that. No. People say, that there is no problem which we cannot solve with a baseball bat. I mean, something like that. Like similarly, in India, we just call it with the regular bat. Like, if there is any problem, let's play. And I think cricket solves a lot of problems. Yeah.
Like DBA with a bat, just saying. Shout out to John Morehouse.
Any other questions for the panel? For a chocolate from New Zealand? Oh, see, there we go.
Which data types are the grown-up data types to you?
White binary? I mean, I never used that one. I don't know how to use it. So I think it's a grown-up. I'm still like, people consider me as like a fundamental guy. Right? So, var binary? I don't know.
Var binary? Well, I was thinking it's a blob, only because the first time I saw that, I thought of the movie. And yeah, I know, but they're big and kind of scary, and they take over entire towns. So
For the presenters, have you worked out that it's such a hard decision? They've been gone a long while. That's awesome.
Yeah, they're out in the bar right now. See them at Tap House.
I got a question for the whole panel. How was your pass this year?
The question was, how was Pass this year? For me, it was awesome because I had, including being up here on this panel, I believe I had 9 minutes of speaking for the entire conference. Last year, I had 7 sessions plus a pre-con. Well, I have 4 here, so that's like that's four of the 7. So it's been awesome just being able to hang out and pretend that I don't have to actually do much, which has been great. Because normally it's just a crazy headache.
So one of the things that I really liked about Past Summit this year is I did not get rained on. Always gotta like that.
Yeah, this is true.
Yes, let's hear it for halfway decent weather in Seattle. But Past Summit is always a good time because it's the only place I get to see many of the people that I follow on Twitter and a lot of people that I read their blogs and am very impressed with technically in one place at one time. So it's always a great experience.
Yeah, I think I like the past this time the most actually because the food never ran out and it's always available coffee. So I think, and all the food were vegetarian, so perfect for me. I mean, so I think it was the best pass ever, and it was very delicious and most of the things. So, yeah, a lot of cilantros, I think so, and people thought. People keep on talking about it, like when you go to Seattle, have a salmon, and I was like, I have no idea, I'm a vegetarian guy, and this time I can say, cilantros are best from the Seattle. Right. Exactly.
All righty.
Do you believe AI will achieve true consciousness?
As soon as it follows the 3 Turing laws and Uber quits killing people when they're testing cars in Arizona.
No, I think AI is going to be real very soon. I think you guys know that we're in a SQL Server management studio, when we create an index, with the same definition of the index, we change the name of the index, we can still create it. So keep the index definition same, but change the name and we can still create it. I think AI I will consider is real when SQL Server Management Studio say you have already created this one. I think that would be step 1, and then after I will start believing everything SQL Server says. I mean, I don't know. Like people come to me and say, oh, I'm super scared that my job is going to go. I said, sure, it will go away. Let them figure it out, how to not drop this one. How to figure it out. There is an already index created on this name. No need to create the second one. Once they figure it out, we will start worrying.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a long time before AI can actually do what it's supposed to do. My running joke is AI is just a bunch of if-then statements, and it kind of is. It's just a lot of if-then statements. So it's gonna be a long while, I think, before any of us have too much to worry about. As far as any of our jobs going away, I don't think any of us have anything to worry about while us or our kids are alive.
Isn't the real worry that we're going to go away?
Isn't the real worry that we're gonna go away? We can beat computers down and just unplug them, and for the most part, it's fine, unless they want to turn us into batteries or something.
John's got a bat, we're good.
Yeah, John's got a bat, we're fine.
What do you think is the best innovation or invention in the last 3 to 5 years?
What do we think the best innovation or invention is in the last 3 to 5 years? Yeah, I would say things like Uber and Lyft are probably the most convenient things that have been innovated in a while. Obviously, taxis are not innovation. We've had them for a while. But the fact that I can now order a car on my phone and I don't have to worry about paying the guy and the guy telling me his credit card machine doesn't work, even though I've asked him if his credit card machine works, that's probably a big deal because I've had that happen in numerous cities around the country, and it's so nice to not have to worry about that again. I think that would probably be what I'd go with.
I'm going to go with the USB-C port. I am sick and frickin' tired of always putting it in the wrong way.
I think this is the hard one to beat because USB port is a unique thing. Like you can plug it one side, doesn't work. You flip it again, it doesn't work, and when you do it again, third time it works. It's like, how did I miss it on the first time? Like that's the question I always ask. And I think USB-C solved the problem. So I kind of agree with you. But on a very serious note, I'm super impressed because I live in India, just 12 hours away from many of you. When I can bring my kid here, right? I mean, she was super impressed, and she was saying, every brand which I see here was invented in India. She thinks everything. She was like so impressed. Like, Uber is here too, Daddy, just like us. I said, great. I like, she look at us like, we look at the Banana Republic here as well. I said, well, yeah, started here. So I was like, well, and the most important thing was like she opened there is advertisement of net. They even America also have a Netflix, and I was like, I think you're 10 years old, so we should do a lot. I think there is a lot for you to catch up actually. But I think that is the biggest invention. In that way, like we are 12 hours apart in one way, and there is a trip to 10,000 miles. But actually, she was just talking extremely comfortable with a lot of kids here, and there was like I think all the kids were pretty same. There was no difference. Maybe there's some difference in adults we are, like where there is a different culture shock. I think kids were just instantly 10 years old, and I think that's the biggest invention. The world is one now. Yeah, thanks.
I have a question for Denny. I think we all need to know who your favorite employee is.
So keep in mind, I'm married to one of our employees. So I'm going to go with the woman who's been putting up with me for 20 years.
I have a question for Pinal, and I beg to differ that you are not 12 hours. I'm over here. You are not 12 hours away from us. You are 12 and a half.
Yes.
And can you explain that, please?
That is very, very true, that half an hour thing. And I was in Nepal, and actually they are 45 minutes. What do you have to say about that? Like every time, Nepal is a very good country. It's the only country where we could go without passport. Yeah, so, and it's 45 minutes, and the calculation is so weird. I mean, I don't know how do I calculate it. But I think the fine folks there, the kindness of the people makes it up. But yeah, 15 minutes, odd. Yeah, so good point. I mean, it's interesting, like, data type, like people like we don't know, I mean, UTC time zone and things. So once you are in a different country, it's very difficult for you to count when the daylights is changed. And just so you know, guys, all the people, just so you know, I come from the future. So time travel is totally possible. This time I took a Singapore Airlines when I started, and by the time I landed, I actually was 2 hours behind. So that was awesome. I'm like, oh yeah, this time like it's a 16-hour flight. So when I started from there at 10 a.m., I landed here the same day at 8 a.m. Time travel possible.
This question is for everyone. As a sequel pass first timer, who is your favorite blogger for sequel?
So, given that he's sitting right next to me, and he's bigger than I am, Panal.
Thank you. No, thank you very much. I think I agree with you.
Yeah, I'm going to punt on that one just because it's been a long time since I've been able to read blogs. Damn you, Google, and taking away my RSS reader. Because I used to read blogs all the time, and...
Yours was the last one I read, actually.
Well, thank you. And I just haven't been able to keep up recently. I know Grant Fritchie writes some great stuff, and so does Glenberry, and those would probably be the two that I've read the most over the years. Yeah, so that would probably be my closest answer.
I have one other thing to say about blogs. So I've been really slacking on mine for those of you who read it. But what really impresses me about blogs is what Panal's done and what Ken Fisher, that's Ken with Fisher with the silent Q if he's around. What's amazing about them is that they blog so much. I don't know about Panal's commute, but Ken has a 1-hour commute and has to actually each way and has to show up at work 3 days a week. And he's got a wife and 2 kids, and he still managed to get 2 blog posts out every single week. And don't all the rest of us feel like slackers when we hear that?
That is true. I think 2 blog posts a lot, and I agree. Just so you know, I would be finishing the 5,000 blog posts later this month. I've been blogging 13 years, and 13 years and 8 days every single day. So it's a long time. Thank you. Thank you for reading it.
Hey. Yeah, so thank you very much to our panel who answered everything. All righty. And now we're going to find out who the runner-up is and then the winner. So do we have someone who's going to come up or? Yay, cool, done. I was maintaining eye contact with the audience.
The one with the microphone.
No, we have not. Actually, yeah. Okay, everyone who presented today, the 4 presenters, could you come up and we'll grab a photo? Thank you, Kendra.
Are we ready?
Yep.
All right. We were out there for. Oh.
It's early anticipation.
So we were out in the hallway for a long time for a very good reason. These are exceptional candidates. The race was unbelievable, and it was an incredibly difficult decision, and we all ganged up on somebody and made them make the decision. It was really good, though, that there was 5 of us, because it was super hard to make a decision for each of us individually and then as a group. So to start with our runner-up, the runner-up today is going to be William. And do you have a fancy slide for the winner? Or this is the fancy slide? Okay, just checking.
Yep.
All right, so, and the winner is Deborah.
Thank you. No, just took it down.
Session in here after.
Yeah, I know. Congratulations. You're welcome. Well done. Alrighty. Congratulations, Deborah. We do have a session in here, but please don't go away because, as you know, each time I finished Speaker Idol, I would tell you where we were going next. So see you at the next Speaker Idol session in Houston. And I'd like to thank you all, especially my judges, and I'm possibly really looking forward to presenting and doing everything at the next Speaker Idol. It's going to be awesome. This has been a great start, and I think I've done...
I'd like to thank you, Hamish. You've done a wonderful job.
Oh, cheers, mate.
Go away. So I'm kicking you off the stage. I'm taking back my session because I want my damn party back. So thank you all very much for coming. I appreciate it. Arjunus, thanks for flying back from Europe to see me. So everyone, I know we've only got one session left to pass. Have a good time. Enjoy the rest of the conference. I will see you all in Houston. Thank you guys very much for presenting. All the contestants were awesome. Hamish, you did a wonderful job taking over for this year. So thank you all very much, and we'll see you next year.